By the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to create a simple coding agent using the Claude API in Python, allowing your application to generate code snippets. This is useful because it saves you time and increases productivity by automating repetitive coding tasks. You'll be able to focus on more complex problems while the agent handles the basics. To get started, you'll need to have Python installed on your machine, along with a basic understanding of how to use it. The Claude API is a powerful tool for building coding agents, and by integrating it into your workflow, you'll be able to tap into its capabilities. We'll walk through the process step by step, starting with setting up your environment and ending with a fully functional coding agent. You'll learn how to use the Claude API to generate code snippets and how to customize the agent to fit your specific needs. This will open up new possibilities for automating your coding tasks and streamlining your development process. To begin, make sure you have Python and a code editor installed and get ready to start building your coding agent. Your first step will be to create a new Python project and install the necessary libraries. So go ahead and open your code editor now. Vocabulary, productivity, automate, integrate, customize, libraries. By the end of this, you'll be able to use the Claude API in your Python projects. To start building your coding agent, you need to set up the Claude API. This involves two main steps: installing the required Python library and obtaining an API key from the Anthropic dashboard. First, you'll install the Claude API library using pip, the Python package manager. You do this by running a command in your terminal, pip install Claude. This command downloads and installs the library, making it available for use in your Python scripts. Next, you need to get an API key from the Anthropic dashboard. This key is crucial for authenticating your API requests. To get the key, log into your Anthropic account, navigate to the dashboard, and look for the API key section. Once you've found it, create a new key or use an existing one if you already have a project set up. The API key is sensitive information, so keep it secure. You'll use this key in your Python scripts to authenticate requests to the Claude API. With the library installed and the API key in hand, you're ready to start making API calls to build your coding agent. Now that you have the Claude API set up, your next step is to create a Python script that imports the library and uses your API key to make an initial request. Try running Python, see import Claude, print Claude, _24 version to verify that everything is set up correctly. By the end of this, you'll be able to create a simple coding agent that generates a Hello World program in Python using the Claude API. You've set up the Claude API. Now it's time to write the Python code that interacts with it. First, create a new Python file named coding_agent.py. In this file, you'll import the request library to make API calls to the Claude API. You'll also define a function called generate_code that takes in a prompt and a programming language as input. This function will send a post request to the Claude API with the prompt and language, and then return the generated code. To start, add the following lines to your coding_agent.py file. Import requests and import JSON. Then define the generate_code function with the prompt and language as parameters. Inside this function, you'll construct the API request with the Claude API endpoint, your API key, and the input prompt. For example, if you want to generate a Hello World program in Python, your prompt might look like this. Write a Python program that prints Hello World to the console. You'll then send this prompt to the Claude API and get the response. You can use the request.post method to send the API request and then parse the JSON response to get the generated code. By the end of this, you'll have a simple coding agent that can generate code based on your input prompts. By the end of this, you'll be able to verify that your coding agent is working as expected. You've set up your agent with the Claude API in Python. Now it's time to test it. Open your terminal and navigate to the directory where your Python script is located. Let's assume your script is named coding_agent.py. Run the script using Python, like this, python coding_agent.py. This will execute the script and send a request to the Claude API to generate a code snippet. You should see the generated code snippet printed out in your terminal. Take a closer look at the output and verify that it matches what you expected. If everything looks good, You can use this code snippet as is or further modify it to suit your needs. To make things more interesting, let's try modifying the prompt we send to the Claude API. Open your coding_agent.py script and update the prompt variable to ask for a different code snippet. For example, you could ask for a simple Hello World program in Java. Save the changes and run the script again. This time, you should see a Java code snippet printed out in your terminal. This demonstrates that your agent is working correctly and can generate code snippets in different programming languages. Now, try updating the prompt again and see what kind of code snippets you can generate. Your next step is to experiment with different prompts and see how the Claude API responds. Vocabulary: terminal, navigate, execute, snippet, modify. By now, you should have a small coding agent up and running using the Claude API in Python. Let's take a moment to review the result and make sure it meets your expectations. First, open your terminal or command prompt and navigate back to your project directory where you saved the code from the previous scenes. You'll see a file named agent.py or something similar. This is the heart of our agent. Let's take a look at the generated code. Python, import requests, class coding agent, def__init__self. Self.api URL equals https://api.claude.ai/v1/agents. Def generate_code self prompt. Response equals requests.post. Self.api_URL. Headers equals authorization. F bearer JSON equals prompt. Return response.json code. If _equals agent equals coding agent. Code equals agent dot generate_code. Write a Python function to calculate the factorial of a number. Print code. This coding agent class is quite simple. It uses the Claude API to generate code based on a given prompt. The key parts are: 1. Initialization. We set up an instance with the API URL and your API key. 2. Generate code method. This method sends a post request to the Claude API with the provided prompt and retrieves the generated code. Now, let's ensure this setup works as expected. Run the script by typing python agent.py in your terminal. You should see output similar to plain text, def factorial n. If n equals 0, return 1. Else, return n asterisk factorial n1. This is a basic Python function for calculating factorials, generated based on the prompt. The power of this setup lies in its flexibility. You can modify the prompt parameter to generate different types of code, API integrations, machine learning models, or anything else you need. This makes our coding agent highly adaptable and powerful for various projects. All right, by now you've got a small coding agent up and running with Claude API in Python. You should be feeling pretty good about that, but there's always room to grow. So let's talk about the next steps. First things first, take a moment to commit your changes if you haven't already. Open up your terminal, navigate back to your project directory, and run. Bash, git add, git commit, initial setup of Claude API in Python. Now that we have our agent set up, think about ways you can expand its capabilities. One easy way is by tweaking the input prompts. For example, if you find yourself frequently asking it to generate code for different frameworks or languages, you could modify the prompt handling logic to accept more specific requests. Another idea is to integrate this coding agent with other development tools. Maybe you want to use it as a pre-commit hook in your Git workflow, or perhaps you can combine its output with auto-completion features in your IDE. Experimenting with these integrations will give you a deeper understanding of how Claude works under the hood. If you're feeling adventurous, dive into the Claude.md documentation. It's packed with information on more advanced features and use cases that might interest you. From fine-tuning your agent's responses to leveraging more specific API calls, there's always something new to learn. Remember, the key is continuous improvement. Start small, like adding a few more prompt templates or integrating it into your project build process. Over time, these incremental steps will compound and make your coding experience even smoother. So go ahead, Take that first step by modifying your agent's input handling. If you get stuck, just hit Claude with some questions. Use the power of your own creation to learn more.